Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, good whatever time it is, wherever you are, whoever you are. Welcome once again to Nerd Week Live, the show in which we, the folks at Nerd Caliber, talk about nerd news that has occurred in the past week since last Tuesday, since our last show. I would be Rodney Brown, the editor-in-chief of Nerd Caliber. On Facebook and Instagram, I am First Person Shooter, mostly known as a cosplay photographer, and on Twitter and a couple of other places, I'm Burley_adopter or Burley Adopter, or I can't remember what I am on various many social media. There's too many of them. But anyway, we've got a decent-sized roster of topics, some really interesting stuff that dropped just today, and so we're going to jump right into it here. But first, before we do, we're going to get our little first promo, our first please, oh please, oh please out of the way. And that is, if you have a Twitch account, we'd love to have you visit that URL. It's on your screen right there, twitch.tv/nerdcaliber. And think about following us. Looking to build our following there like we have on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, which are both pretty robust. Speaking of which, Luminous, welcome to the show. There on the YouTube chats. So, oh, and I apologize in advance for any hitches, coughing, things like that. I love this fantastic weather we've had in New England. I had doors open all day, outside for a good couple hours. But I don't love the allergy stuff that happens in the evening because of that. So, yeah, you got to take what you got. So, with that said, let's get into our first topic. And the first topic is, it was announced earlier today, after noontime, that comedian, voice actor Gilbert Gottfried passed away at the age of 67 today, after suffering a lengthy illness. This is according to a statement from his family on his Twitter feed. Gilbert Gottfried, Luminous, I've been watching the restored Star Trek, the slow motion pictures, see way too much space cloud in 4K. The slow motion picture? I think that's a great way of putting it. I'm pretty sure that's not the exact title, but anyway, Gottfried passed away today. You obviously know him, or you may not know that this is him, but you certainly have heard him. He was the voice of Iago, the parrot, in the animated Aladdin. Based on his IMDb listing, he pretty much did that any time Disney asked him to. He has multiple follow-on listings of video games and short videos, and he was Iago so many times. But that's not the only thing he's known for. He was Superman's probably most difficult nemesis, Mr. Mxyzptlk. And I'm pronouncing that the way I think it should be pronounced. It's just a garbage jumble of difficult consonants. But he played him in Superman, the animated series in the 90s, and then returned to play the same character here on Justice League Action just a couple of years ago. Lumina says, sorry to hear about Gilbert. Always admired his bold and chaotic comedy. That is a really good way of putting it. And he also played Krang, Krang Subprime, the version of Krang that was in the mid-2010s, like 2014 to 2016 reboot of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Among many other voice acting roles, he had small roles in various SpongeBob projects in the last few years. He's just been on so many things. Oh, I missed another one. In a video game, he was also Mr. Mxyzptlk in Lego DC Supervillains. So just aside from the fact that he is a great stand-up comic, or was a great stand-up comic, was absolutely hilarious in any acting role, although he never really acted much out of, being Gilbert Gottfried in a particular situation, whatever the character's name was. But he's always funny. I've never seen anything specifically about him, except all of the follow-on stuff I've been reading, is that while his comedy is very subversive and, as Luminous put it very nicely, chaotic, he was apparently an absolutely peach of a human being. Everybody that I guess knows him that has since come out and talked about the various things that he's done, he was just a really nice guy. So, my condolences to his family and to all his fans out there. But we will no longer have Gilbert Gottfried to do any of these super crazy voices that he's so well known for. And that's very sad news. Moving on to, personally, I think it's kind of sad news for me, but boy, is it really good news for, well, at least the investors in Epic Games. The news is, and this again dropped just today, that Sony and we have the Lego logo up here, but the parent corporation behind Lego, or parent company, it's a family-owned business called Kirkby, are each going to invest $1 billion, and you can't see it, but I've got the little pinky finger thing going, in Epic Games. And everybody associated with this deal, Sony, Lego, and Epic, are all talking about this is about building the multiverse, or not the multiverse, the metaverse, and specifically targeted towards a, quote, safe and creative space. Before I say quote, let's put it how they actually said it here. Epic, in a tweet, said, build a fun place for kids to play in the metaverse. So, that's $2 billion of commitment to the metaverse, and that means that they're going to be ramming this down our throats. Whether you want to think of the metaverse as a place that's going to happen, that gaming should go to, meaning every single game will always be a live service. There's nothing that you'll ever own, that you'll ever have as a physical copy, as long as it exists in the metaverse. There's now, $2 billion of actual real money on the line here. So they're going to force it down our throats. It's going to happen. There's no way around it. Or they're going to eat $2 billion. And this deal brings the company behind Unreal Engine and Fortnite and all the other games, but Unreal Engine in particular, to the intellectual property of Lego and Sony. And I'm going to go right out on a limb here and say the first thing they're going to do is they're going to do a Roblox-style virtual, build your own interactive play space featuring a Lego version of Spider-Man. Because remember, Sony owns not only the movie rights, but also the game rights to Spider-Man. Hence the incredibly popular last two Spider-Man games. So, that just seems like a no-brainer. You build it as a Lego thing, but in Unreal, so you can do unbelievable things with the assets and the lighting and so on. That makes it appeal to both kids and people who fondly remember Legos and Spider-Man fans and what have you. This could be the killer IP application. They're not saying that's what it's going to be. That's not in the press release. That's my speculation, based on, frankly, the two things these $2 billion investors can bring to a deal with Epic. So, we'll see where this goes, how long it takes them to get something out. $1 billion moves things along quickly. That's a lot of lubrication cash. So, we could see something, and plus they do have to go up against things like Roblox and whatever anybody else is planning to make a part of the metaverse. So, gonna happen, folks. Get used to it. I'm not crazy about it either, but All right, this is really awesome news. We talked a couple of weeks ago about the failed attempt to get a animated adaptation of the graphic novel Nimona out a couple of years ago when Disney bought Fox. They bought this movie that was in the works, being made by Blue Sky Studio, and Disney just shut Blue Sky Studio down completely, just like ended the studio, which ended the project, which, as I recall from our discussion a while back, was more than 60% done. The news is that Netflix has come sweeping in, is going to be making their own animated movie adaptation of this graphic novel, and it will be coming out in 2023, and DENG, Double Negative, although it's now called literally just DENG, is going to be the production studio making it, and I'm guessing from what I gather here, that is going to be the typical artwork that you see on the left, which doesn't look a whole lot like the actual graphic novel artwork that you see on the right, but, you know, that's what Double Negative does, or DENG. I'm going to call them Double Negative. DENG is just a horrible thing to say. And as it turns out, they were purchased. Double Negative is, or has been, a special effects powerhouse for more than a decade. They've been, if you can think of a nerdy or action or whatever show or movie or show that needed some kind of special effect, some sort of digital special effect, Double Negative was in it. They launched a couple of years ago their own movie division, DENG Features. And the only movie that they've done primarily all of the animation on so far is the pretty successful Ron's Gone Wrong from last year. So they are now going to be doing this for Netflix. Nimona, it was rumored, completely a rumor, based on, you know, allegedly insider sources at Blue Sky, that Disney killed both Blue Sky and the movie because it wasn't comfortable with the LGBTQ plus representation in the graphic novel, and it's a very deep, at its core, part of the graphic novel. So, in the graphic novel, basically, it's the story of, there's this knight, Ballister Boldheart, who's going to be played by Riz Ahmed, is framed for a crime he didn't commit, and the only person who can help him prove his innocence is Nimona, who's going to be played by Chloe Grace Moretz, a shape-shifting teen who might also be a monster that he's sworn to kill. It's supposed to be this really cool sort of techno-medieval mashup world, but Boldheart had lost a hand, or an arm, in a duel with the best knight in this whole realm, kingdom, whatever you want to call it, a character named Ambrosius Goldenloin, who will be played by, get the name right, Eugene Lee Yang. So, yeah, it's a absolutely very popular, award-winning graphic novel, and I'm glad that it's got a chance to come back. I'm looking forward to seeing it when it comes out. Again, sometime in 2023. And, you know, Chloe Grace Moretz and Riz Ahmed, good cast so far. I don't know much about Yang, but I'm sure an excellent actor. All right, this was also really cool news, keeping with the theme of LGBTQ plus topics, and that is Elliot Page on his on his Twitter feed dropped this picture on the left of Victor Hargreaves. And in Season 3, the very shortly upcoming Season 3 of Umbrella Academy, Victor Hargreaves is going to be the new identity of what was Vanya Hargreaves. So in the show, and we don't know, we don't have any details of how they're going to handle it or how it's going to happen. But Vanya has transitioned to Victor. I picked this photo because apparently there's also an awful lot of people online who are really just, kind of thrilled that the look of Victor very much reflects the look of Ben. And that's absolutely true. But, this is a wonderful announcement. I was wondering how the show was going to approach having Vanya as a character where Elliot has transitioned. And they decided that they were going to go with Vanya transitioning, which isn't, as far as I recall, isn't in the comics. But I'm 100% for it. I think it makes sense. It's a logical way to do it. And in fact, Elliot looks pretty badass in this image, and I really hope they write the character to be this tough, this badass. Vanya was pretty tough, although very broken. Let's see if Elliot or if Victor is as tough and cooler, frankly. But yeah, so we'll get to see that March. June 22nd. So June 22nd, the next season, season 3, where the Umbrella Academy takes on the Sparrow Academy. And I'm very much looking forward to it. And I'm glad that they decided to go that route. Makes me proud of them. All right. Our next bit of news is a quick bit of casting news for the upcoming series Anansi Boys, based on the Neil Gaiman work. And that is Whoopi Goldberg has been cast as Birdwoman. Apparently a fairly malevolent character in opposition to Mr. Nancy. And I guess Neil Gaiman says in an article here that he actually had Whoopi Goldberg in mind when he was writing this character. But he didn't get a chance to meet her until like 4 years ago at some event, at New York Comic Con, I guess he says. And then she mentioned that she had just finished the audiobook of Anansi Boys and loved it, and they basically sort of got to know each other, and boom, now here she is in the upcoming series. So this is Amazon is where this is going to be. I don't know that they've mentioned when it's going to happen because they're still doing casting announcements, so they really haven't started filming or anything. So I'm guessing we're not going to see this until 2023 at the earliest. But I think that's a great casting. Other news, going back to Netflix, the adaptation of Joe Hill's graphic novel series Lock and Key has announced that the next season will be its last season. And apparently this was in the works all along. According to this reporter here on Deadline, their sources say that the first season, which was a breakout hit for Netflix, was such a hit that the executives went back to the showrunners and executive producers and said, look, we'd like to do a 10-episode second season and then an 8-episode third season. And the producers and showrunners are Carlton Cuse and Meredith Averill. Apparently that fit into how they wanted to wrap the story up. So it's been that way since the first season. But this is coming back in... does it say here? I thought it did somewhere in this article, and I guess I can't find it right now. Season 3 was revealed in December of 2020. Season 2 was released in October 2021. But apparently the season 2 and 3 were filmed back to back. So we may get to see it by October of this year. but it doesn't say so specifically in here. So if you're a Lock and Key fan, I haven't watched the series, which I feel kind of bad about because the Lock house that the family grew up in and comes back to is based on an actual house that's on an island that is 4 miles that way. Okay, that way from my house. So, I've got a local connection, and Joe Hill, of course, is a Mainer, and I'm originally from Maine, or was a Mainer, born and raised in Maine, son of Stephen King, and so I really should, just haven't got around to it. But now I have, I would say, at least a few months before season 3 drops to catch up on the other 2 seasons. All right, another bit of casting news for another upcoming series, and that is that the person there on the left is Talisa Garcia, and she has been cast in the upcoming Disney series Willow. That is, of course, Willow Ufgood from the original movie on the right. And the story is here that she is going to be playing a queen, the mother to a character played by Tony Revolori. And he is one of the characters taking part in this quest to accompany a princess who's trying to rescue her twin brother. The news here is that Talisa Garcia is a trans actress, and that makes this the first trans actor or actress cast in a Lucasfilm product. And that's big news. And it is in keeping with a lot of the casting choices that have been going on lately. Surprisingly, with Disney, given their stance on Florida's, or their initial stance on Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. But, they have been actually doing some smart and good casting, bringing in actors and actresses, trans, gay, as long as they fit the role, doesn't matter. And let's hope that continues. Now, this is probably a very short appearance character, 1, maybe 2 episodes, but still, it's a character, and it's a start. All right, you might not have heard this, unless you weren't paying attention to Twitter, or you don't have all kinds of people that you follow on Twitter who squeed endlessly starting very first thing Monday morning. But yesterday, very, very early, Square Enix held a Kingdom Hearts 20th anniversary celebration event, at which they announced 2 new games, including Kingdom Hearts 4. And this is actually early game footage, but game footage of the new look of Sora attacking this giant darkness in a new world called Quadratum, which looks really like basically modern Tokyo. Now, I'm sure it's going to have all kinds of fantasy elements, so clearly there's this thing in the middle of the street. But as far as technology and environment and setting, it doesn't look like the sort of high fantasy, sailing sky ships sort of thing that you'd expect from other Final Fantasy stuff and therefore Kingdom Hearts. This looks really like a modern Tokyo. And the graphics are much, much sharper looking. More in keeping with the looks of the recent, Final Fantasy VII remakes. They also announced a new mobile game called Kingdom Hearts Missing Link, which will be iOS and Android, which has more mobile-looking graphics, but set in the realm of Scala ad Caelum, and in quote, will allow players to engage in exhilarating battles against the Heartless, not the Darkness, the Heartless, and discover a new and original story. So, this looks really interesting. This is really super early. Let's see, I'm trying to think how the way they put it here. It is very early on in development. which means we have no idea when this is going to come out. I would be really surprised if it's even 2023. But you don't know. Now, they could have been working on this for a while. They could be working in it might be Unreal, where there are tools that are just, all over the place and easily accessible, art assets that they might be able to easily grab onto and reuse. So, who knows? It could be sooner than I think. But it's a Kingdom Hearts game. So, could be 10 years. You never know. I know a lot of people would be very disappointed if that was the case. So I hope that's not the case. Our next story is... So this is Tatiana Maslany from the series Orphan Black. And the news is about Orphan Black, but not her. She is obviously committed to She-Hulk, the Disney Plus Marvel series. The news is that AMC is going to be going back to that universe, though, with a spin-off called Orphan Black Echoes, which will happen in 2023. They did make that announcement. So this spin-off is set in the near future, quote, takes a deep dive into the exploration of the scientific manipulation of human existence. So I'm guessing it's also about clones. If you don't know what Orphan Black is, it's a story of, a clone discovering the fact that she is, in fact, one of many clones, all with completely different backgrounds and personalities. David Fortier and Ivan Sheberg, who are executive producers on the original series, are going to be executive producers on this new series. I think it's going to be a pretty popular. Orphan Black is one of those series that has absolutely dedicated fans. I bailed after the first 3 episodes of the original series. There were structural problems that I had issues with. Had nothing to do with Maslany. She's amazing. It was just, there were some logic things that just didn't make sense to me. I never went back to it. But I know it is absolutely adored by those people who do love it. And I'm glad that they're getting this. And who knows, maybe this new version will correct some of the issues that I had with the original. The same executive producers, maybe not. But yeah, 2023, folks. If you're an Orphan Black fan, a spin-off is happening. You'll get to see more clones. This blew my mind. So that is, of course, from Overwatch, at one of Activision Blizzard's most popular games. News doesn't have anything to do with Overwatch. It has to do with Activision Blizzard. And that is, they announced that they are going to be transitioning 1,100 QA workers, temporary game testers, to full-time jobs with benefits, starting at a minimum hourly rate of $20 an hour, which is absolutely fantastic news. There is one minor hitch here. The QA testers from Raven Software, who were on strike and have unionized, will not be getting this deal. And Activision, says it is because due to our legal obligations under the National Labor Relations Act, that may be legit. That may mean that because they're a union, they actually have to negotiate as a union block for minimum prices and or minimum wages and full-time benefits and things like that, and they just can't be given them by the company. That seems stupid. But hey, crazier rules about how business works have been put in place before. So I'm not going to guarantee that that's just a really ass move by Activision to just put the screws to the people at Raven, while, going, haha, everybody else in every other studio that we own is, getting now to be a full-time employee with better pay. Now, I'm also not saying that that's not the way that Activision is approaching this, because that would be something they would do. But it may be true. It may actually be part of the regulations when it comes to dealing with the union. So this could very well be them saying something honest. Even if that's the case, and in which case then eventually the Raven Software people will have a deal that they will have negotiated because of their union. At least it's really good news for those other employees. And if Raven does wind up negotiating a deal and the deal will be in place, there's nothing that says that those new full-time employees couldn't join the union after the fact. So all the horrible, horrible things we've been reporting about Activision Blizzard, and they still haven't fixed them as far as we know. There are still multiple pending lawsuits. This is a good thing. You got to give them credit where it's due. Let's hope that they take the goodwill that might be generated in the community from making this kind of move and apply it to everything else that they're doing wrong. Not holding my breath. All right. That is, of course, Ezra Miller on the left as the Warner Brothers DC EU Flash, and it's Grant Gustin on the right as the CW Flash. The news is there are rumors out there that Warner Brothers is seriously reconsidering anything to do with Ezra Miller because of his recent arrests. In Hawaii, the most recent one, for getting into a bar fight. Harassing bar goers for singing karaoke, getting a restraining order filed against him for a couple who say he burst into their hotel room and threatened them. And of course, this comes a couple of years after the whole April 1st incident where he was out at a bar and choked a woman, and it was on video. So the rumors are out there that Warner Brothers is really seriously thinking about whether it wants him in the Flash role at all, whether it wants to even make a fourth Fantastic Beasts. That is also compounded by the fact that while this last movie probably did better with reviewers than the previous one did, Crimes of Grindelwald, it also didn't do box office, or isn't currently doing box office, worth a darn. And then there's the whole J.K. Rowling. Apparently she is very connected to the Fantastic Beasts franchise, wrote most of the script for Secrets of Dumbledore. So, people are staying away from that movie in droves because it puts money directly into her pocket. And I can absolutely understand that. I wouldn't go see it. We have a review up of it because we had a reviewer who was willing to go. But that's a service to our readers who might want to go see it. So, yeah. I did a search right before the show, and there has been no further confirmed anything about Warner Brothers and any move that they may or may not make with Ezra Miller. So this is all still a rumor. Now, the reason I went with this particular picture is apparently this isn't a rumor. There is a big fan movement out there to try to get Warner Brothers to replace Miller with Grant Gustin, Barry Allen, the Flash from the CW universe. Is that going to happen? I maybe. I don't know. It would be very difficult for them to explain why the Flash in Justice League and his quick appearance in Batman v Superman and his actual appearance here in the last CW crossover where they actually had these two on the same show, why it's not him anymore and why it's Grant Gustin. Who knows if they're going to do it. The fans, there are a lot of fans who really would like to see it. There are fan petitions and all sorts of things out there trying to get it to happen. But we'll stay on this. I can't imagine Warner Brothers is not going to make some sort of move. Miller is becoming an albatross around their neck. So, they're going to have to do something about it. All right. This was originally our main topic, and I think this is absolutely fantastic. So this is Walker Scobell from the Adam Project, playing young Adam, up against Ryan Reynolds. And the news here is that he has been cast as Percy Jackson in the upcoming Disney reboot of the movie series, which is being done closely with the author of the entire Percy Jackson and the Olympians novels, Rick Riordan. This is, I think, a fantastic casting. If you have not seen The Adam Project, it's a fun movie. It's worth watching, but it's worth watching for this kid. Everybody in it is good. Ryan Reynolds is particularly good in being a little bit more of an emotional Ryan Reynolds than he has been in a while. But this kid stays up with him every beat, particularly in the comedy. Walker Scobell is going to be a factor. And I think in making the Adam Project, he was 12, which means he's probably 14 at this point, and will probably be 15 or more when anything actually winds up coming out. But that's way closer to the correct age, even if he is 15, than Logan Lerman was in the previous two movies. And in those movies, they aged everybody up. It was still supposedly like a high school age group, but they were clearly at best college-age kids, and they were actually older than that, the actors. So I'm glad Disney is committing to younger actors. Good for them. I'm glad they recognized how good this kid is. And I'm glad he picked it, or he decided to, accept when they offered. Because he's really good, and he will do a bang-up job. And I'm looking forward to this way more than I did to the sequel to Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, which was the first of the last two-movie set. So, no idea when this first movie of this series will be coming out. Again, they just literally cast the first lead character. So, even if it's a few years down the road, I'm excited about it, excited about this casting. All right, our last topic for the night. That is one of the last things you see in the Stranger Things 4 trailer that just dropped earlier today. If yesterday my Twitter feed was filled with squeeing about Kingdom Hearts 4, today it's filled with OMG about Stranger Things 4. This is the Mind Flayer. This is the thing that we finally see that has been pulling the strings behind everything from the Upside Down. And the trailer, the Mind Flayer narrates most of it. So the Mind Flayer is clearly going to be an active character within the upcoming series. And we see a little bit more about what's going on. We get a little bit more of an explanation about how various government officials felt it was safer to take the I should know the name of the last name of the family, Joyce's family and her kids, the Byers, and relocate them to California, whereas the rest of the cast is all still back in Hawkins. And it's interesting that we get to see that, and that's where we get to see those scenes of Eleven in a high school where she's just clearly not fitting in. You get to see a little bit more of that. But you also get to see a lot more action, and apparently this season is going to get into much more of Eleven's creation or evolution or whatever you want to call it. How 11 became the psychic powerhouse that she is or was. Remember, at the end of season 3, she no longer has her abilities. And we also found out, and I don't remember seeing this, but apparently they announced a little while ago that the next season, season 5, will be the last. That they'll wrap it up in one more season. And given how this season looks, where the kids take the fight into the Upside Down, I'm going to guess that not everything is going to go really well, because that's really dramatic. They get a whole nother season to do, where we may be seeing some difficult things to deal with in this upcoming season. And upcoming I mean this season will be here on May 27th, where the first I can't remember what they call it, volume, the first part of it will run. Then it'll take a break until July 1st when it comes back to finish out. So it will stretch out over a fairly long period of time, but there will be, I think it's like 4 episodes and 4 episodes. So I'm really looking forward to this. Of course, it's Stranger Things. It's wonderful. It's a lot of fun. They do show a couple of other things where the kids, they're realistically and logically growing up. You get to see them playing sports, in their high school and so on. So it looks good. Oh, and they also announced, they do a rundown of, all of the characters that are coming back. And Maya Hawke. So Robin is coming back. I was like, yes, awesome. So I haven't seen her in any of the teasers so far. But she's a great character, so I'm really thrilled with that. And that is it, folks. That is our show. Thank you for being in the chat, Luminous and other people who were chatting. It was awesome. Upcoming, we have this Thursday, the movie Encanto will be our topic on Full Fat Spoiler Chat. It was supposed to be... so the reason we did not have a show last night, there's a bunch of different reasons, but one of the reasons we did not have a No Nerd Caliber is the topic was supposed to be top 3 Disney reboots to tie into the fact that we were going to be doing Chip and Dale. Chip and Dale doesn't come out until May 20th. I think in creating this calendar like 2 or 3 months ago, we probably misread that as March. But anyway, we screwed up. So we didn't have a No Nerd Caliber last night, and so this Thursday, instead of Chip and Dale, which won't come out for another month plus, we will be doing Encanto. So if you have seen it, or you don't mind spoilers, check it out this coming Thursday. Next Monday will be Anime Octane, and that one I know what we're doing. We're going to be doing a preview of spring 2022, what we've seen so far that we like or don't like. What we're definitely not going to be jumping onto. So that'll be next Monday, and then of course 1 week from tonight we will be doing Nerd Week Live, and we'll be talking about what other interesting news has dropped. This past weekend was Wicked Comic-Con. The galleries are already up at nerdcaliber.com. Please check those out. All sorts of really cool cosplay. A much more heavily attended show than I anticipated. The founders of Wicked Comic-Con are undoubtedly very happy with the turnout that they got. I know that the artist friends I talked to when I went through Artist Alley and the dealer's room and so on were very happy with the size of the crowds and the amount of money they made. So also this past weekend was Fan Expo Philadelphia. The first iteration of Wizard World Philly after Fan Expo bought it. So Fan Expo Philadelphia used to be Wizard World Philadelphia. And those galleries from Adam, our guy down in Jersey, will be up, I'm guessing sometime in the next couple of days. We'll start posting up. That con ran 3 days, I believe, as opposed to the 1 day for Wicked. So I'm guessing Adam is going to have more than the 2 galleries that I got out of Wicked. Then, in a little more than a week, April 21st through the 24th, we will be at PAX East. We also have our cosplay and photography shootout panel 7:30 at in the Arachnid Theater. Come enjoy it or participate. If you're going to participate as a cosplayer or a photographer, please show up early, because we are going to be limiting the number of actual teams that run out there and try to get the shot that would possibly win the entire thing. Because otherwise we're going to just go too long. We have to wrap it up in an hour. So that's it, folks. We will see you at one of these upcoming shows. Oh, I've completely. And then at the end of May, of course, Anime Boston. I will be running the photo department. Nerd Caliber will be in the cosplay photography suite, room 102. If that's where if you want to get your Nerd Caliber cosplay photos, we won't be in the hallway for Community Row. We will be in room 102 running the whole photo shebang. So we'll see you there, hopefully. Or at another con, and at another one of our live shows here. Luminous, very glad to see Nerd Caliber photos from Wicked Comic Con. Awesome. And